Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1748, and today's date is December 13th, 2018, and the title of the episode is Confirmed U.S. Has Gold. Gold will bring down the Fed. Now, before we get started, have you always wondered how investors and stock traders are able to make money hand over fist from working in the comfort of their own home? Well, now it's your opportunity to learn how with one of the best online training programs out there. Whether the market is up or the market is down, Trade Genius will show you how to make money in any market condition. Their proprietary algorithms are making their customers insane profits every day with cryptocurrency, binary options, and ETF stock signals. Here's a trade that made customers almost 3% profit in November on Bitcoin. The Trade Genius signal notified a buy at 3,600 and a sell at 3,760. Right now, through the holiday season, you can save 50% off their bundled specials, or use the promo code HOLIDAY for 40% off all non-bundled items. Gift bundles are also available if you're thinking about gifting your spouse or loved ones the gift of investing this holiday season. Check out TradeGeniusAcademy.com. Tell them X22 Report sent you. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, we are starting to see all the pieces come together. In the beginning, we started out saying, oh, look, Trump has Andrew Jackson hanging on the wall. What does that mean? We talked about Andrew Jackson, how he campaigned on getting rid of the central bank. Then Q, back in 2017, posted a couple of posts about all the Rothschild central bank systems. Talked about how the Fed is sitting on their own piece of land, immune to U.S. laws. And then recently, Q posted something about how the central bank is trying to bring down this economy, and they know already that this was in place and they're prepared for it. And Q has told us that an economic structure change is coming. Then during the Q&A with Q last night, someone asked about gold. And guess what? Gold is going to bring down the Fed. Everything has been planned. Everything, all these different pieces that you see, they're just not one over here, one over here. They're all coming together for a specific plan. This is not just about the deep state. It's just not about those individuals that were treasonous. It's just not about the economy. It's about all of this together. It's about this major global reset that we're going to be going through. And with any type of transition reset, you're going to see chaos. You're going to see things that look very chaotic. I mean, look what's happening out in the UK. Look what's happening out in France. It's happening in Germany. It's happening in many other countries. And this is what it looks like when people start to push their own agenda. They break away from the elites. They break away from the central bank. They break away and say, you know what? We're done with all this. And this is what we're watching right now. It's happening live right in front of our faces. Now, out in the UK, Theresa May's position in Europe does not appear to have been strengthened after she survived the no confidence vote. And it looks like she's in trouble. She's already said that she's not going to be running in the next election. The people, once again, they really don't want this deal. The EU individuals, they're pushing this deal, saying we're not going to renegotiate this. This is it. This is what we're going to give you. Right there and then, it tells you something. It tells you this is not a deal for the people. In France, we see that Macron is in trouble. But back here in the United States, we see our own chaos. And remember, the chaos here is a little different. We see a movement. We see a movement of people saying, you know something? We're not going to work with the central bank anymore. We don't want the central bank anymore. We don't want these people in government anymore. But what's very interesting about all of this is that prior to Trump coming into office, the deep state, the central banks, they have been planning for when the system comes down and who was going to be responsible and who was going to hold all the debt and how they were going to bring the United States down to a third world nation by moving all the manufacturing businesses out of the country, bringing in illegals and things like that. Now, during this period of planning, they did many different things, and it wasn't by accident. I mean, when Goldman Sachs and the rest of the banks became banks where they were able to access the Fed window, count deposits as depositors, and take on more depositors, this was all part of their plan. Think about what these banks were doing. They knew bailouts weren't going to work anymore, and they knew they were going to create bail-ins. So Goldman Sachs and the rest of these banks became banks where they can take on deposits. Why would they do this unless they knew something, unless they planned for something? They knew that eventually the banks would shut down. The banks would go on a bank holiday. I mean, didn't the banks go on a bank holiday on December 5th? Was that a coincidence? Think about it for a second. What happened the day before? The market came down dramatically. And then everything was closed. Very interesting. But what they were planning is something even worse than that. They were planning to make sure the American people were holding all the treasuries. Think about this for a second. Foreign buyers were going to dump treasuries. What do you do with them? The Fed could purchase them, but they didn't want them. So what did they do during the periods of 2008 up to the present? They made pension funds, investments, and everything else purchase treasuries. Today, U.S. households own more treasuries than foreigners. This is very disturbing. What happens when we go through a transition and the whole system comes apart? Who's holding all the debt? Who might not get paid on the debt? The American people. This was their plan. But hopefully, with Trump, the Patriots taking over the central bank, this might be turned around. Because if you look at post 2575, and we read this before, it talks about a structure change coming. Now, during the question and answer, and I pulled this Q post from there, this is post 2619, and Annan asked Q, do we have gold? Now, Q answered, yes, we do. Q expanded on this answer and said, gold shall destroy Fed. Now, when Q says we have gold, it doesn't mean it's in Fort Knox. It doesn't mean that the gold is where you think it is. The gold could be anywhere. It could still be underground. We don't know. Actually, Bix Weir has been out there saying that the Grand Canyon has a huge amount of gold. Maybe he's right. Because right here, Q is telling us that gold is going to bring down the Fed. The Fed hates gold. The central banks hate gold. Well, they only hate it if you own it. If they own it, which they've been accumulating a lot of it, it's okay. They just don't want people to catch on to what gold really is, and that's real money. Same thing with silver. They don't want people to understand this. They don't want people to learn that this is real money. The paper stuff that we're giving you, that's not money, that's debt. So right here, with Trump having Andrew Jackson hanging on the wall, that is a signal letting us know they're going after the central bank. If you notice, Q now is posting a little bit more about the central bank, about the Fed, and what their plans are. And I believe going forward, we're going to see a lot more posts like this, where Q is going to be talking about the central bank and what plans they have. And of course, you don't want to put that all out there now, because if they tell us all about their plans, well, then the central bank can react and they can try to do something else. Remember, just because Powell is in this position doesn't mean he's in full control of the central bank. You still have the Rothschilds. They have the ultimate control over the central banking system. And believe me, they have control. And this plan is not just to get rid of the Fed, because then you still have the ECB, you still have the IMF, you still have the BIZ, and you still have the other central banks. Because remember, Q listed all the central banks. And there's a lot of them that are controlled by the Rothschilds. So this plan is much, much larger than just the Fed. That is the beginning stages. But it's much larger than that. And I don't believe that Q can tell us everything at this point because, again, because of certain reasons of letting them know what they're planning on doing, they don't want to let the cat out of the bag. So Q is going to be dropping some breadcrumbs. But what I get from all of this is that they've had this plan for a very long time. They made sure that they had gold. Because if the United States has this gold and we restart the system using gold, maybe as a confidence builder, maybe to back the currency, guess what happens to the Fed? Because if the United States says, just makes that announcement that we're going to be using gold, and then China makes that announcement that they're going to be using gold. Remember, China's been accumulating a lot of gold. And then Russia makes that announcement. What do you think happens to the central bank system? Just with that announcement, boom, they're screwed. Their world starts to fall apart. Because once countries say they're going to be using gold as a confidence builder or to back their currency, what happens to the debt notes? Well, they drop, they lose value, and what happens to gold? Boom, up. China's holding a lot of gold. Russia's holding a lot of gold. Q is telling us that the United States has a lot of gold. What happens? Is it worth $1,100 an ounce? Is it worth $1,200 an ounce? No. It's going to be worth a lot more than that. Why? Because it's been manipulated this entire time. Do you really think the US dollar dropped 98% of its value and gold dropped at the same time? No, completely impossible. This is why they created the futures market, the paper contract market, GLD markets, SLV market. They created it to control gold because right now, if they just let gold do whatever they wanted, gold would do, the central banks would be destroyed. This is why Q is saying gold is going to destroy the central bank. This is what they're going to use to destroy them. So what you've been doing and what you're planning on doing, continue to do. And that is to get gold, get silver. I believe cryptocurrencies are going to be a very big part of this. Because remember, to move gold back and forth and things like that, it's going to be a little tough to do. If you have cryptocurrencies maybe attached to gold, there are some out there. Maybe the United States will do it. Maybe other countries will do it. Maybe they won't. But it's a lot easier to use cryptocurrency because it is a truth-telling machine. And again, this is outside of the central bank. This is a people-controlled cryptocurrency. Just like if we had a people-controlled paper currency, it's very different than a central bank paper currency. But you can see what is happening here. The plans are to remove and destroy the central bank system by using real money. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.